Over the years, I've had the privilege to meet so many incredible people in the outdoor industry. Some of them with inspiring stories that are worth revealing. My name is Josh McFaddin, and this is Revealed. As outdoor folks, we need to keep taxidermists close. They are the craftsmen and women who breathe life into our stories and hunting accomplishments. The work they do is dirty, extremely detailed, and one major piece of the hunting process that not anyone can just pick up and do well at home. This is Tom, a lifelong outdoorsman who has dedicated the past few years of his life honing his skills in the realm of taxidermy, whose work has quickly become sought after due to his attention to detail. I visited his shop to learn more about what his eyes are seeing as he's crafting these beautiful mounts and what inspires him.
This deer? No. My grandpa shot this deer in the 60s. It was just an old gray set of antlers that was hanging in my grandma's garage, and because there's some mouse chew on them at the top and stuff. And you can tell they're old and worn, so I actually colored them. That was before I really knew how to color antlers really good, so I wish I could, but it was wood stained, so you can't really get it off. I wish I could redo the coloring.
It's also amazing if someone doesn't understand that you can take an old set of antlers from Grandpa's garage and throw them on a mount. Yeah, and have this legacy mount, right?
This deer's so special to me because it's the deer that I would go to my grandma's and I'd go into her garage and I'd go and grab these antlers, and they were the biggest thing in the world to me. I couldn't believe how big they were, and she would never let anyone take them. They just hung in the garage. She wouldn't let anyone do anything with them, and they were to me, I was just this is the biggest deer ever. And then when I went to do taxidermy, I asked her if I could mount them, and she gave me she let me take the antlers, and it's the deer that kind of made me obsessed with big bucks. And I think anybody that at some point turns into a big hunter, you can think back to when you're young and you've seen a mount or a set of antlers that just kind of you were wow, you know, and
impressive.
To be able to have them and have them in here is really neat.
Grandpa's buck.
Yeah.
And to have that connection to somebody that you never met.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
Let's take a peek at the shop real quick.
Yeah.
And have a look at where all your handiwork goes on. I haven't seen your buck yet.
No.
But let's take a look at it.
Okay.
Because I know you have it in the freezer.
Yeah.
And this thing is what, a few days ago?
Yeah, I shot it on, would have been Tuesday.
Oh my word. Can we put it on the counter? Or?
Yeah, for sure.
Jeez. This is way more impressive than the pictures even made.
That's the thing, is it's he's got so much mass and everything, you don't realize just how...
Oh, it's crazy. You just never get to feel this as a whitetail hunter.
No,
you know?
It's so rare. Early season, as you know with their fur, you've seen the mounts in there, their fur is so thin, or it's so short, and their hair is on their ears is super thin. They feel the weather way more than they would, say, in November.
Sure.
So I've always thought any little temperature drop in early September is going to kind of drive them nuts, right? It's going to make them move. And we had him on trail camera for, 4 days or something, and he just at 3 in the morning. And then opening day comes around, it cooled off from 27, 28 degrees to 23, and he's out there at 8:30. Daylight. So then I was at actually a baseball game with the family and got pictures of him walking by in daylight. But same thing, just from the side, and from the side profile, he looks good, but when he's far away, you don't see.
Sure, yeah.
You don't see the big brow tines. This looks short and stuff. He just always got a kicker, and he's a good deer. So we didn't know he had any this big stuff going on. And then
the mystery was revealed.
Yeah, so then normally if you get him daylighting once, an old buck in early season, he's gonna do it again the next day. So yeah, I took my tree stand, climbing steps, all my camera stuff, got in there, hung where he was coming out, and He was with another big buck, a big 5x5 with a drop tine, and the other one came by at about 15 yards. He came out at 30, and I just aimed low, and he dropped again, but dropped into the arrow. And
having the ability to know when those deer are around,
yeah,
and quick access to that information,
yeah,
it's
a game changer.
Everything.
Like it's such a tool to be able to have.
Tom has access to some of the most beautiful chunks of ag and forest land that I've ever seen locally. He spends his whole year in these wild landscapes, using them as a playground for himself and family, but also to grow his base of knowledge for his craft. We set up a bunch of cameras and learn more about the advantages that trail cameras bring to the taxidermist.
Trail cameras are so good now, like with the quality of pictures and video you can get. So if you can set up a trail camera and the deer, they're moving naturally past the camera all the time. It's not anything that's like a stage shot or anything. It's them in their natural habitat doing their thing. So with how good like the HD videos and any videos you get are now, you can see so much of a deer's attitude and what they're doing and why their ears are going when they're doing such thing. And it's such a cool tool even just for taxidermists to be able to study and look at the pictures, see what the deer's doing and why they're doing that. And
is it useful to you if a customer comes in and has a bunch of shots of a specific animal?
If they have a bunch of trail cam pictures of this deer they shot, it can always help.
That's pretty sweet too.
Yeah. For as much stuff people know, and even with scientists and stuff, how much time do they actually spend watching and learning and seeing it? Like the most learning you can do as to per say like an animal is actually watching them in the field and watching them in their natural habitat and doing their thing.
But when you can catch something on camera,
well, you got eyes out all the time.
Right.
So it's not just those however many hours you're in the tree stand, you have eyes there
24/7
all the time, which is pretty cool.
All right, so we've got one more camera to hang, and we've got a decent amount of cameras out.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the season, but your season's over.
Mine's done.
You tagged out.
Yeah.
So why are we hanging more cameras?
It's always just nice knowing what's around. Your next season starts as soon as you tag out, right? And I mean, I spend all year just obsessing over these things. So then when you do tag out on either the first or the second day, it's like, I'm not just going to be like, okay, I'm done. That's it, right? I'm still going to put out cameras. I'm still going to go scouting. I'm still going to spend my time in fall experiencing what the deer are doing, because it's just like, I don't want to miss that, you know? So I might not have a tag, but I can go with the camera still, and I can still go scouting. I can still put up cameras, see what's around.
A lot of hunting to be done.
That's just it, right? And you know what? Then you find something that you can get on for next year.
This guy is fascinating and skilled. He has the level of knowledge that almost makes you feel silly to ask the next question, as though the answer should be assumed, not to him, but is always gracious enough to answer and explain what's in his head. He's that friend that always shoots the biggest buck, and you can't genuinely get upset because you just know that he's put in more work. We left him during his peak season to pick up the conversation a few months after the fall whitetail rut.
The one on the right is like a close to 180-inch deer. The one on the left, though, that's the biggest deer that was shot in Manitoba last fall. So that was Manitoba's #1 buck last year.
This was?
Yep. Awesome guy.
What does that
shot
score?
it too. He was netted 202.
Just so like the mass even on the bases versus something like that, right? Like it's just
and again, like
giant.
this is a giant deer too.
Yeah.
But this deer again, it's the difference between a 200-incher and
I just want to touch it. I don't know if I'll ever touch a 200-inch. That feels really nice.
Yeah.
Just to pet it, you know?
Yeah.
Just to be in its presence.
I know.
This is the craziest looking thing too.
Yeah, it's
like,
wild.
Is this something that would be on sheds from
I have no idea.
years past or what?
I have no idea. I have never seen that before. Like,
Just this
I'll
weird
see the
scoop.
holes in there often. I've had drop tine deer come in, but that where it looks like it's literally melting off.
It's the neatest little thing.
Yeah.
And then this thing is just like younger deer, right? Like
Yeah. And archery, like it was early October, so like his hair is a little shorter. He's a little thinner still. But
do you have any hides with like full winter coat. I feel like not everybody gets to experience that northern shaggy buck.
Yeah. There's a recent one. She's a little fresh.
Yeah, just that difference is insane. So you don't get that when you hunt in Texas.
No, you don't get that like 2+ inches of fur.
There's so much fur. From what you had on camera, like, are there some like memorable things that stand out at all?
Oh yeah, watching the deer hit the scrapes was super cool.
Yeah.
It was like the first time I really committed to setting up a bunch of cameras on scrapes, and man.
So they were already active scrapes.
Yeah,
not
I did
mock
mock
scrapes.
scrapes in September, and then October, I'd have to look back to when I started setting on the scrapes, but sometime in October, started setting them on scrapes. And,
Okay. So you moved them around.
Yep. Man, there were so many videos.
Yeah, it just
I
like
was
seems
just
constant.
having a heyday.
Right.
It's like,
that's what Marcel said. He said he saw like requested videos like nuts.
God, it was just like, it was the coolest thing because
Yeah.
I've never committed to putting
That.
them on scrapes. And I was just like, I'd get like the buck on a scrape and I'd be like, oh shit, like, let's see. And it was just like, but I mean, you'd get the video, he'd come in, work the scrape, and then you see him hunching over it and peeing on it and rubbing his legs together and then continuing on.
Like doing the whole like
Yeah. Like it was,
dance.
it was so cool.
I do that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Get the females all pumped up.
Yeah. And that's another cool thing about downloading the videos.
Right.
Because you get the video of the deer working the scrape, which is super cool. And lots of times the deer is walking in and then they stop and then they look and they do this. And you can watch that because lots of times on a mount, the deer is upright looking. And when they're doing that, you can look in the video and you can see what the deer is doing with his ears and that.
And that just gives you so much more realism when you're building something, right?
Yeah.
It just looks more natural.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, transitioning back to where you are in the season, we've got a pile of antlers.
Yep.
And these are all for shoulder mounts,
Yeah.
which is just wild.
Yeah. And then, there's more here that have to get cleaned up yet before I can put them on the pile. And then there's kind of more scattered kind of all over the place. Today, I really just started tidying the shop yesterday and today from the madness of November.
Tom's attention to detail is inspiring. His keenness to better understand how whitetails interact with their surroundings and every unique characteristic they display while alert, smelling other deer, calmly feeding, or just observing really shows through in his final work. Some folks just aren't tuned into nature the way that others are. But the more you learn and absorb through your journey as an outdoors enthusiast adds to the stories and memories that we're all here to collect.
So your son found these.
Yeah.
And how?
2021.
2021. Because this one was taken close to your dad's place.
Yeah.
And this was also found on the same chunk?
Yeah. Quarter
Okay.
mile apart, probably.
And what time of year? Like, you guys were just walking around looking
We
for sheds?
were driving the quads through mud down in the field, and I watched. He hammers the brakes on the quad, jumps off. He found the first one. I'd want to say like a week or two later, we were all back there, and we were all driving around again, and same thing. He drove past and found the other side.
No way.
Yeah.
It's like fairly close by.
Yeah. And he obviously doesn't realize how cool it is to have found a matched set of sheds, right? Because, well, when he found them, he was 7, 8 years old, 8 years old probably.
Yeah, there's no recognition at that age as to like how cool that is.
He was just like, oh, antlers, like awesome.
Right.
But I'm just like, man, like.
A match set.
Yeah.
So cool. 2021, find the sheds.
Yeah.
See nothing.
Never seen the deer before.
Never see the deer. And then this year, your dad sneaks into the woods. Was there something about that day that you said the wind was a little different than what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, it was just going.
But your dad just had free time, or?
Yeah, just home and picked the kids up from school, and my wife had a work meeting. So I was just like, hey, well, we're going out to Grandpa and Grandma's, and Grandpa and I are going to go and sit down for deer. And, you have probably at max an hour before it's like dark probably at that time of year, I think, because they're done by the time I get them from school, 3:45, 20 some minutes to get out there. And so not a lot of time, but it was just, yeah, kind of, you know, like have trail cameras so scattered along this whole route, you kind of know where he's at. And I have never had luck rattling before. Like once, maybe when I was 21, I rattled in one of the biggest deer I've ever seen. And then ever since then, I had no luck rattling. But I was just like, you know what, one day something's gonna.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was funny how it worked out. So
Big old rattle buck.
yeah.
Man, this is just unreal to have a set like that. So connecting those two pieces, having your son there and your dad and those 3 generations, you know, represented in this hunt or this story, that is what everyone says when it's like, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
That's what hunting's all about. It's about those experiences more than it is about this chunk of bone, right?
Yeah. And like my dad doesn't hunt much anymore. But like he is the one that got me into it and everything. And it was cool. But it was like when I was cleaning the deer, I had my son holding a leg, my dad holding one, and then my dad, I could tell, was just taking the moment in, because then he goes to Jace, my son. He's like, you know, Jace, he's like, I'm the one that taught your dad how to do all this, because I was walking my boy through it. And it was kind of like, that was just like, man, like
Full circle.
doesn't, you know, like to be able to, you know, do that, have my dad there, and then
Special.
yeah.
That type of stuff, man, it's just it's embedded into us, I think. And
Yeah.
it's so cool to see that come to life in our kids.
I left Tom's feeling a little jealous. Reliving the memories of a hunt is one of my most favorite things to do. Sitting in my thoughts, pondering what I might have done different, smiling over the celebrations had in camp, telling a few good tales to other folks who weren't there, and Tom gets to do this every day. Piece by piece, he reshapes what was left behind, restoring the shapes of something once wild. Not just preserving it, but honoring it. It's that difference between doing it and doing it right that defines a true taxidermist.